LMK show.
All right.
Let's go.
Just fired up in here. What up?
I love that.
How's it going, everybody? We got Brass Man Reptiles in today. His name's Jeremy. He's down there, lingering somewhere. But for today, I don't know. With all this auction stuff going on, I've been busy with it. I've been thinking of balls. So I put Brass Man balls everywhere and had to go back and change places. I mean, I must have balls on my mind. But what's up, Jeremy? How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Come on.
All right. Well, let's get the 5 moments of history out of the way quick. We'll get that right off the bat. Well, go ahead, Justin. Go through the chat. We'll get chat out of the way first.
Sure.
Good. You already flashed them.
That's one of them. I'm going up all the way to the top.
You jumped on it. You got me too. So you might as well go shout it out.
You got Mitzi.
What up, dude?
I'm sure he's rocking them socks.
Mitzi, how's it going?
I'm sure he's rocking them socks. Look, and this guy will never share a potato chip bowl right here because he is a double dipper. And
no,
look,
because I double dip everything, dude. I just like doing it. I triple dip sometimes. Don't give me Doritos.
I bet you bite and dip the same spot.
No, I flip it. I do flip the chip. I do flip it.
Adrian. What's up, Adrian?
Adrian! What up, dude?
Basta.
Nice to
what
see
up,
you.
Dicky?
Dicky Fox. My dude.
Got Christopher Walker. What's up, Chris? Christopher
Walker.
And this guy right here is one
guy.
Can't see us, but he can hear us. Got Duval. Let's go. Got Jay with Green Line. Come on.
What's up? What's up?
That's the homie right there. Homie Jay.
Carl.
What's up, Joe?
I always think of like
Joe.
Is that Walking Dead where he's out there? Carl. Yeah. You got Brave. What's up, Brave? That's when Walking Dead was actually good before they had like 60 episodes, you know, million episodes. It just got dragged out.
Before they smashed one's head with a baseball bat.
Right.
What up, Wiz? How's it going? Go.
He hates owls, but he's got owls on the shirt.
On.
Come on. Let's see. I think I'm scrolling. We got Catalina. What's up, Catalina?
Okay.
Got Bosa. What's up, Bosa? Prayers your way, homie. Hope you're having good. Keeping that head up.
29th, we're having a collab with the Wiztang clan over there. We're going to throw a big-ass auction for them. We got you, homie.
Got Kyle. What's up, Kyle? Kyle.
What's up, man?
It went from Walking Dead to South Park real quick, you know. Kyle.
Well, got most of it.
Yeah. Got the Tarantula Fairy.
What's up, Rhonda?
Yep, Rhonda.
How's it going? I'm surprised I remember all these names. Like, that still shocks me.
This Chooch.
There's the Chooch. What up, Nick?
Got Randall. What's up, Randall?
Randall. What up, Randall? How's it going, dude? Appreciate the support.
And oh, right there, Cookie Man. What's up, Cookie Man?
Dang.
And that's it. So let's hear you.
We all caught up?
We're good. Caught up.
Top 5 moments in history tonight was so weird because there really wasn't much going on. So it's a little different. I got a couple. You'll see. It's just a little different. It's not just like this year this happened. All right, we'll just start off. You'll see. In 1265, first English Parliament was summoned without a royal command. So if you know anything about England and the Parliament, I have no idea what that is, but it just happened on 1265, and I figured it was nice for you to know. Then we jump to more modern times, and I wouldn't say modern, but 1841, China takes Hong Kong Island from Britain during the first Opium War. So there was opium wars back in the day in the 1840s, battling over opium. It's crazy. And then we have 3 presidents that got sworn in on this date. In 1945, Franklin Roosevelt. In 1981, Ronald Reagan. And in 2009, Barack Obama. They was all sworn in to become president of the United States on this date in those years. And then singer-wise, we had 2 singers die today. Ed born in 1938 and died in 2012. And Meatloaf, good old Meatloaf, died in 2002 on this day. And then in 2000, Breaking Bad. In 2008, Breaking Bad, created by Vince Gilliam, premiered on today on AMC. And I blame that for the meth being everywhere, because meth wasn't cool until that came out. Then everyone started doing meth once that came out. So that happened in 2008.
So a TV show fantasized, blew it up. What's up, John?
Blew it up. I mean, that's what it seems like to me. I don't know if I'm right, but I mean, that shit was just everywhere after that show. It was like 2007, it was nowhere. 2008, it was everywhere.
I think you just noticed it more, is all it is.
I haven't done none of that in years. Okay, so top 10 list tonight. We'll just jump right into it. We want to get to knowing a little bit about Jeremy. I mean, I got tons of questions for him, especially because like he worked with Nerd for so long. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, working with Kevin and getting to see all that facility and stuff. Wow. But tonight's top 10 list is the top 10 best snakes for children to have as pets. What up, Kurtwood?
Over here, roll tide me.
So go ahead, Justin. You want to start us off?
I'm going ball pythons.
For kids?
I gotta say ball pythons. I can't not.
Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. You got it. Number 2.
All right.
All right. What's your guess, Jeremy? You got a guess for us?
Let's go corn snake.
Number 1. We got number 1. Corn snake's number 1.
Check that out.
We got any guesses coming in from the chat?
Not yet. Not yet.
They got 1 and 2.
Snake.
Well, go ahead. Take another stab at it.
I'm gonna go king snake.
What kind of king snake, man?
California king, number 4.
A green speckled. We're gonna go easy on it. We're gonna go green speckled. All right.
I love my green speckled king snakes.
Yeah,
That's awesome. You're so cool.
I mean, we could go with mosaics, but I'm gonna go simpler with it. Yeah.
Well, king snakes in general are number 4.
That's definitely one I've seen a lot in pet stores as a kid. When I was a kid, it was definitely green speckled were in a lot of pet stores when I was growing up, for sure.
Yeah. So you said king snakes in general was number 4.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. All right. Let's see. What about milk snakes? If we're doing king snakes, we got to talk about milk snakes. They should be on there.
Number 6. That's number 6.
All right.
Come on.
For sure. Chat, what's going on tonight? Get your guesses out there. They're being all quiet.
Hey, nobody
get in it there.
Isn't that crazy?
Right.
Yeah, they're like sleeping on it.
Hognose snake on there?
I would say
are we giving rear
number
fang
8? You're getting
that one. That was my only thought. Was like some little kid just letting it.
No, on their arm.
Yeah,
it is number 8.
Okay.
Okay. So you got hogs, you got kings, you got corns,
you got milks. Let's see. What else would be good?
Ball pythons. How about a boa?
There's 2 types of boa on here. I can't just give you a boa.
Rosy boa.
There's 2 types that are really similar. Rainbow boas on here now, but these 2 types of boas are really, really similar.
What about rosy boa?
Yes, rosy boa is number 3.
Okay. Number 3.
What is a boa that's similar to a rosy boa?
I don't know my boa.
Rubber boa?
Rubber.
It looks kind of like a rubber boa.
Come on, chats. What you got? You got Rosie and what else? There's got to be something else.
Sand boa.
Not cat frozen. Yes, Kenyan sand boa, number 5.
The Kenyan sand boa.
So we got 7, 9, and 10 left.
Are they chats just not popping up for me, or are they? No, 939 is what I got last time. Okay.
Yeah, like frozen or something. Like usually we're popping off. There's just nothing. It's like crickets. You got a button for crickets?
Nope.
Oh, ain't no fun. All right, so
right, check to see if they're alive.
Number 7. Number 7 is a smaller python, like type of python. It's a real small one.
Spotted python or children's python?
Children's python, number 7. There you go. Number 9, you could basically find these anywhere.
Garter snake?
Yes.
Oh yeah, there's lots. There's lots in the chat. Actually,
right, and then
I don't know why it's doing this. It was doing this last week.
It's not popping up for me. Let me log on and see. Oh yeah, I see them now. They're all popping up. I don't know why it's not coming in here. Bye, Justin. See you later. Let me see if someone got number 10. No, I don't see number 10 in here.
Got gardener snake.
I don't know how to explain this without giving away. It has African in its name.
African house snake.
House snake.
Yes, African house snake. Number 10. There you go.
It's starting to pop up. Yeah, I'm getting.
Now I got to turn my.
There we go. No, not the tree boa. We're not giving tree boas to kids.
Yeah, now it's starting to come up. Sorry, guys.
We said that one, Chooch. He said, "I hate y'all."
Nothing with 2-inch fangs. Yeah.
Hey, look, I was out Palmer comments.
We have them knocked out already. Sorry, we didn't get to you guys. The chat froze. I said that one, Chooch. But number 10 is the African house snake. Number 9, gardener snake. Number 8, hognose. It said Western hognose. Is there a difference why Western hognose would be better than Eastern hognose? I don't know. That's something I questioned about this list. But number 7 is children's python. Number 6, milk snake. Number 5, Kenyan sand boa. Number 4. Maybe you're right. Number 4, California king snake. All king snakes. Number 3, rosy boa. Number 2, ball python. And 1, corn snake.
Right, Adrian. Love-hate relationship.
Now we got about 45 minutes-ish to talk about Jeremy here.
Now we can.
So, like, talk about working with Kevin. What was that like?
Well, I mean, I've known Kevin since.
How long did you work with him, and like, what was that like?
Yeah, so I've known Kevin since I was probably, I want to say maybe 13 or 14. So I used to go up there all the time, and that's really where I started to understand ball python genetics, and I could ask him all the questions because he had all the cool stuff back in the day. And one day I went up there just to visit, and he kind of jokingly was like, "You know, you looking for a job?" And I was like, you know, I was teaching music at the time, and I was like, you know, maybe I wouldn't mind a change in work, a change of scenery. Right. And I was like, you know,
not anymore.
We gotta talk, you know, figure if we can make it make sense and everything, because I'd have to move. So if we can make it make sense, then I'll make it happen. So we had a few other follow-up conversations and made it work out. I was like, hey, let me just finish out the year, because I'd feel like crap if I ditched the kids halfway through the year that I was already working with. So I was like, let me finish out the year, and then I'll make the move. So that was, I think, July of 2019, I think. I'd have to go back and actually look, but yeah. And then I was there for about 3 years. And originally, when we first started talking, I thought he just needed an extra employee to clean tubs or, do whatever. And it came out in a later conversation that he was actually looking for a facility manager. And that was what he was asking me about. So I ended up basically helping steer the ship for 3 years, which was cool because that's not what I was expecting to do. But it was overall was an easy transition because I had been going there since I was a little kid. So all I had to really learn was like where the supply closet was, because I spent all my time looking at cool snakes, So I'm like, where's the mop?
Right.
But yeah, it was a really cool experience. Kevin is he's an interesting person, man. He's a very genuine person, but he's all over the place. His mind is always moving, and again, I've known him for over half my life, and he would say things, and I'm like, how the hell do you know that? Like, where did you find that out? Like, and still to this day, he and I don't talk as frequently as we used to, but we still talk from time to time. And man, like sometimes we'll just be talking about shit, and I'm like, how did you figure this out? And he's, I knew that for 20 years. I'm like, you just what? I don't understand. He's forgotten more than we'll ever know.
20 years ago.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, man, and I love him to death, man. He definitely is such a great guy and was a pivotal person for me to know and kind of bring me up in reptiles. And I remember I had already moved, if I remember correctly. I had already moved, and I was helping train the new manager that was taking over right after I left. So I was flying up periodically for that. And Pete Call came up one time. So the Call albino boa and pied ball pythons back in the day, that Pete Call came up and we had shot a video, and it was me, Kevin, and Pete. And Kevin was talking about, way back in the day, going to Pete's place and being like, oh my God, piebald ball pythons. That's the craziest thing in the world at that time. And as he's saying that, I'm listening to it. And I said, I was like, it's interesting hearing you say that. I'm like, because that's very much my relationship to you. I used to come up here and be like, Inferno ball python. What the heck is that? Like, I just have a het pied and I'm trying to be cool, man. You've got ball pythons that don't make any sense right now,
Right.
And we all just kind of laughed at that. But one of the things that I miss is the species diversity. I've got a pretty diverse collection. I've probably got a little over a dozen species of snakes, but it seemed like any room you went in, you were bound to see at least 20 different species of reptiles, and that's insane.
Wow.
From getting to work with Boland's pythons to Amazon basin emerald tree boas, green tree pythons, of course, the Asian water monitors, Asian rat snakes, Southeast Asian rat snakes, South American rat snakes, like just stuff that you never would really see unless you were at like a diehard reptile person's house, the giant keeled rat snakes, Pitaius carinata, like a 9-foot big black rat snake that has like almost like a boom slang kind of like head, and you're just like, man, what the hell even is this, dude? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that Kevin liked. That's the stuff that he worked with. Of course, all of his obsession with the mangrove snakes. And because he is who he is, having access to some of the only ones in the world, like I remember when we got in the T-negative albino melanota mangrove that he named Crowley. And I remember looking at that snake when we got that import in, and I'm like, dude, I've never seen anything like this before. Like when you talk about pure paper white and yellow, like lemon yellow, I'm like, I don't understand how this thing survived in the wild. It sticks out like a sore freaking thumb, dude. And we got it in, and it was already like 4 feet. So we're like, this thing survived from a little 7-inch hatchling to 4 feet before it was captured. You're just like, holy crap, man. Like, that's insane.
That is sick.
You know, getting albino gemma mangrove snakes, like some of the only ones in the world, is just nuts to have access to those animals and to see those animals. And whether you're interested in the mutations or not, just to be surrounded by those animals on a daily basis was a really special point in my life, you know. And honestly, the only reason why I left was to pursue another avenue in my musical career. Moving down to North Carolina provided me a lot more musical opportunities than what I had in the Northeast. And, you know, a short while after moving to North Carolina, I got a phone call to work with Tyrese, like the Tyrese from the Fast and Furious stuff and all that stuff. And I worked on his latest album, Beautiful Pain, where I played horns on the majority of that record, which was not anything that I was ever expecting in my life. But I spent 2 months working with Tyrese and his music director, Brandon Hodge. And that opened up a lot of other doors for me in the Atlanta and LA music scenes. And I was all because I was in North Carolina. It was easier for me to get to Atlanta than having to buy a plane ticket. I was 3.5 hour drive. Way easier.
Way easier, right.
You know, location. We joke about that when we're kids, but it matters as adults, you know. But yeah,
it just might matter, you know.
It does just a little bit. But yeah, so that's really the only reason why I ended up leaving Nerd. You know, it was one of those things where it's like, hey, I've got some cool opportunities and I'm not getting any younger. If I don't take these opportunities, then, you know, I might never know what could happen. And along with that move, I moved all my animals, my business with me, Brass Man Reptiles, obviously, and have just kind of honed and developed that into what it's become now, which is, I don't know how many animals anymore, but a lot of animals, and mostly working with Amazon tree boas right now. But like I said, I've probably got about a dozen or so different species of snakes, from Madagascar cat-eyed snakes to different Pituophis species, various North American colubrids. Yeah, just a little bit of everything, because I like everything, so I have a problem, and that's just what it is.
So I mean, you got lots of experience.
Is half the battle.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's the truth. That's the truth. You got lots of experience, so I gotta definitely ask, what was, like, to you the most challenging of species, of any of them? Really, what was the most challenging to you?
You know, ironically, at first it was boas for me. So I was, as a kid, I bred leopard geckos and bearded dragons and a lot of the stuff that a lot of us start with when we first get into things. Made my way into ball pythons and corn snakes, and the snakes that aren't really too challenging to breed overall.
Right.
Getting into boas, things were a lot more nuanced, because now your follicular development with pythons and colubrids, you have some time. You have a decent window between that female starting to produce follicles to actually ovulating and then laying those eggs. With boas, you've got a really fine window of getting those follicles fertilized to become babies developing inside that female. And certain boas take a little bit more attention to detail. So like the first time I bred Colombian red tails, boa constrictor imperator, I got really lucky. I had no issues. I had zero issues at all. I had a successful first experience, and it was great. The first time I tried to breed Amazon tree boas, I was maybe 15 or 16 years old. I had no idea what I was doing, and it was a horrible experience. I lost a lot of blood. It was just no good. You know, fast forward to now, having worked with a lot more of these arboreal animals, I was able to kind of dial in understanding some of those nuances, understanding that if you read your animal's behavior, they're going to give you those signs. You know, that was something as a teenager, you're not really paying attention to that kind of stuff. You're like, oh, breed snake now, you know, like, and that's it, you know.
Like you just said, we're robots. We literally, as kids, we're like little robots. Like you just said, breed now, come on.
Exactly. So that was definitely one of the more challenging things. and then moving into nerd was, of course, like breeding Boelen's pythons, and trying to breed Boelen's pythons was incredibly challenging, and never quite 100% figured it out. We had one instance where we had a female that was gravid, and something happened, and an egg actually ruptured and popped inside of her, and she went septic and died. And we did a necropsy, and she had 11 eggs. And like we were literally within 30 days of having a clutch of Boelen's pythons. And that like broke all of our hearts, because we were like, yeah, like we did it. We're moving in the right direction. The ovulation happened. We were like, yeah. And it was within that last 30-day window. So that was a huge bummer. And then, that's one of those things that like takes a while to mentally recover from, a project like that. So Kevin kind of put everything off to the side and never really came back to revisit that when I was still there. So, but knowing that he understood enough of that snake species to kind of figure that out, and not necessarily crack the code consistently, but be able to be like, okay, we're on the right track. We've done it. Now we can really hone it in. That was a challenge. What are the windows for BCC and BCI? So it varies. One of the things that we need to remember when it comes to especially South American and Southeast Asian species, these are animals that don't go through cool down periods. And African species as well. They don't go through cool down periods. They have a dry season and a wet season. Right. And food cycling plays a lot into that as well. Obviously, the dry season, there's less food available than the wet season. And these are biological clocks or ticks for these animals to realize, like, hey, the biological clock can start moving. There's a surplus of food. That means my babies will be able to eat. Now is the time to start breeding in preparation for that time, et cetera, et cetera. So you can really manipulate those things. And certainly, at least here in the States, especially if you're in an area that gets snow or any massive storm fronts, you can utilize those barometric pressure shifts to your advantage. So like, I'm not a huge subscriber to videos or content that's like, these are the top 5 best reptile beddings to use for your animals, or this is the best this to use for your animals. Because fact of the matter is, wherever you live in the country, you're going to have a very different experience on how you're maintaining your animals. And if you have 2 or 3 animals, or do you have 200 or 300 animals? Because that's going to dictate how your room fluctuates in temperature and humidity. So it's finding these cues. So when would you feed slightly sparingly, and then up to feeding by a calendar? If you could. We're in Texas. Yeah, so it'd be one of those things where, like, during the summer, feed a little bit more sparingly. Maybe don't mist them quite as much. Maybe don't soak them quite as much. And then going into those wet months, those more wet months, maybe it gets a little bit cooler. If your ambient room temperature naturally kind of drops during that time, use that to your advantage. Start feeding a little bit more, spray them down more consistently. Also, you can take them out and actually soak them. Let them soak in water. Get more consistent with the thought process of, okay, well, what's happening in that region during the wet season? If we look at something like the emerald tree boa, obviously they're up in the canopy and everything, but in a large portion of their range, it rains every day at about 2 p.m. Between 2 and 4 p.m. It rains every single day for anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. Straight rains. Hydration is key for an animal like that during the wet season. And I think it's one of the reasons why we don't see too many successful emerald tree boa breeders in the country, because we're not dialed into that. We're not keyed into that. We're like, oh yeah, I hooked it up to my Mist King and it sprays them for 30 seconds every other day, and it's great. The snake looks awesome. It drinks. It does its thing. Meanwhile, they try to breed it and they get a litter of slugs, or they get no reproduction at all. And I think hydration is a huge, huge key factor in that.
So I kind of had a question. And so can you guys kind of ultrasound bows like that?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can, then what is that millimeter like that? Because you got a small window from what you're saying to get it. So what would be that perfect millimeter growth for that small window? Is it kind of like balls like one.
I'll tell you right now, man. I don't use those fucking things.
There you go. Hey, I get it.
I'm grabbing my balls to figure out where they're at, man. No.
Right.
No, I'm definitely old school when it comes to that. So I couldn't tell you millimeter size for sure, but it's one of those things, again, kind of going back to reading your animals. Like they will really, like ball pythons and colubrids, we know when they're hanging out at the cool side of the cage, it's probably an indicator. The boas are the same way. And the boas are like, they're diehard about it. You know, like a ball python might be cycling and, you know, but it still might go over to the heat every so often. That's right, man. You know, but they still might go over to the hot side every once in a while. You know, boas, in my experience, when they're cooling down, they're cooling down. They're like, do not bother me whatsoever. I don't want to be warm. I want nothing to do with it. That is really your key moment of like, okay, let me see. And I would bet you if you've got a 2 or 3 week window where your boa, whatever species it is over on the cool side for like 2 or 3 weeks, basically every time you see them, go grab that animal and put a little bit of pressure. See if you can palpate to feel follicles. I would put money that you're going to feel something. And that's the time, start getting that male in there and then start throwing food in there like a madman. And you're going to watch that snake just take off.
Come on. Well, there you go, Mission. You hear that? When it's in that cold and it's sitting in that cold, palpate and pair. Let's go.
That's it, man.
That's good. That's good info. Because I mean, I never thought of that. I don't really mess with boas, but it's kind of nice. That's good info. You know, it's good info.
It's one of those things that, like, you know, it took me a while to learn that. You know, you think about colubrids, you're cooling them down anyway. They're going through a hibernation period, so they're not necessarily going on the cool side of the cage. The whole cage gets cool when you put them down. You know, and like I said, ball pythons, you might see them bowl wrap, you might see them kind of hang on the cool side of the cage, but they're going to go and sit on the hot spot a bit too. You know, they're not solely going to be chilling out. You know, boas, like I said, every experience I've had with boas, when they're trying to regulate themselves, they're chilling. They really are chilling. And like when I designed the racks that I designed for the Amazon tree boas, one of the things that was a big thing for me was giving the animal the opportunity and the options to be on the hot side or the cool side and make it really clear and really evident. Because every situation that I was in with the Amazons was, if they're down low or they're on the whole opposite side of the cage from the heat, it's time to pull them out. And they're such a slender snake, you could see that lower third kind of expand a little bit. And you're like, okay, now's the time. You start hitting them with food, you throw a male in there, and it was like, bam, every single time they're locking up. And I'm like, that's it. That's the key. So being really, really intentional about how you set up those enclosures. Like, I'm all here for having big, lavish enclosures and decking them out and make it, you know, whatever. Fundamentally, there needs to be a purpose served. Right. You know, if you're trying to breed, if you're just keeping for the sake of keeping, do whatever the hell you want. You know, make your slice of the jungle and have a blast. I'm all for it. But if your intention is specifically to breed, you need to set yourself up for success in that way. And, you know, you don't need to have a bare bones enclosure if you don't want to, you know, but be really intentional on how you set it up. So, you know, okay, well, the animal's doing this. That's kind of out of the norm. What's going on here? You know, oh, she's cycling to breed. Now's the time, because you'll find those they're very habitual creatures, you know, so they're going to do the same thing basically every day. You know, I can go into my reptile room and every single day between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., my Amazons are under the heat panel or on the warm side all the time. And then by about noon, they're making their way into the tube on the cool side. And then by about 4 or 5 o'clock, I start seeing heads poke out. Things start kind of shifting, moving around. And then at nighttime, everybody's out running around, doing what they're doing, looking for food. It's like clockwork. And as soon as that starts to change, and I notice, oh, that female's not out basking today. What's going on? Oh, she's on the cool side. Okay, I'm going to note that on the cage, and I'm going to come back and check her tomorrow and see if that's the same thing. If it is, cool. That's a sign. If
That's
it's
a
day
sign.
3 or
I'll
4,
say that.
Time to put nail in.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like if I see that, 3, 4, 5 days in a row, cool. When I go to clean that cage, I'm gonna palpate her and see
Come on.
what I'm feeling. And bam, if we got follicles, males going in, and I'm putting a note on there, feed the hell out of me, and get that food in there to get her going.
Yep. See old B&S Chris.
Feed.
That's
What
it,
up,
man.
Chris?
That's wild. That's definitely
What has
like
been
just paying attention. And when you walk in the room and you're seeing all these on the same schedule every day, and then they just, you're going to notice that one randomly do something completely different than all the others around it.
Exactly. And just to prove the point, I don't manipulate temperatures with my Amazons whatsoever. The only time I change temperatures are when my females are gravid. They really hug the heat, so I might bump the heat up on those racks a little bit. But outside of that, I do not manipulate temperatures. Everything is natural room flows, ups and downs of temps, but that's it. I don't do any extra manipulation of temperatures. I don't cool my ball pythons. Brumation for my colubrids is far less significant than most people think it really needs to be. Like a lot of people are, oh man, you got to get your colubrids to 50 degrees or whatever, they really got to get cold. And I'm like, well, I mean, it's not 100% true if you really think about it. Corn snakes live in Florida really doesn't get down into the 30s and 40s like that. So I cool my corn snakes down to 60 degrees.
Yep, makes sense.
It's enough of a drop. Same thing with my cow kings. I might give my cow kings 1 week in 50-degree weather. Everything else is in the 60s. And they're cool because Southern California can get kind of cool from time to time, but fundamentally is pretty stable temperature wise.
Yep.
My San Luis Potosi king snakes is the same way. My pine snakes, my Pituophis, I probably cool more than anything else. And literally the only difference is they're lower on the rack. So they're getting a bit more of that draft and cool air because they're on the bottom, but they're still 58 degrees. Like they're not really going to that 50-degree mark. It's just not necessary. All my pits are out. Yeah, exactly. When we start talking about U.S. native colubrids in particular, just look at the friggin' map. Look at where they come from.
I was going to say, I know a handful of people that are doing hog noses and don't put them in brumation at all. They just pair throughout the year until they get some eggs. And I'm like, what? I'm like, well, I'm over here putting them in my attic and putting them in storage bins and shit,
And I mean, it goes back to the point of like what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for the next.
Correct.
And how you have it set up. Whether it's a reptile room, you have everything. I don't want to hear anybody. Right. But if you've got a reptile room versus I just have like 5 or 6 snakes, or if you have a building or whatever, like all these things play a huge role in what you need to do to get those biological clocks ticking. So, again, what works for me might not work for you, might not work for you, might not work for those in the chat. You've got to figure out those things. Every reptile room is different. Every building is different. Every region is different. So those are the things that we all have to kind of navigate through. Getting the information from multiple sources is a great way to educate yourself and try those different avenues. But when you find what works for you, dial into it, run with it. Because that's what's working for you. So, nobody can really tell you any different if it's working for you. So,
So I tell people a lot of times, I'm like, bro, go get 3 opinions from 3 different people and then take all their opinions and put it all in your own equation and work it out,
100%.
And that's kind of sometimes it might work out for you. Sometimes you might hit a little speed bump here and there, but you can go backtrack and take somebody else's little probability and maybe fix that part of the equation,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
No, that's definitely pretty cool. I love that's one thing I love about this is all the experience, and actually the speed humps and the downfalls is what I love the most because it's what's making me want to reevaluate the situation and work even harder and push and push and push. That's what I love about it the most.
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's see. Jeremy Nerd is a huge facility, I'm assuming. What are the differences in dialing things in even between one room to another? Huge. It depends on what's in the room. Number one, Kevin's somebody who cools his ball pythons down.
Cool.
So like that's something. And when I started breeding ball pythons, because Kevin was one of my primary mentors, I cooled my ball pythons down. So it was just something that I learned later on. I learned I didn't even really need to do that because I started to have females that just randomly cycled at different points of the year. So that's when I realized that cooling wasn't necessarily a thing. But the more I looked back and paid attention to things, I started to pay attention to his food cycle. And when he realized that females were starting to develop follicles or move in that direction, he would be hitting them with food. And that's the push on the biological clock to get them to keep going. But dialing in from room to room is a challenge. So retics really appreciate a cool down period. So every room at Nerd had its own control system for temperature manipulation. So there's an ambient thing for the whole floor, but every room you were able to kind of dial in. So that was a big thing. So retics want to be cooled down, but the monitors, you're not cooling down Asian water monitors. They're hot and humid all day, every day, 365. It doesn't matter. It's a tropical Christmas every year. But colubrids, we're cooling down the colubrids, and largely because even in those rooms having their own individual temperature setups, the ambient temperature on the second floor, everything was still too warm for the colubrids. So ambient might be 75 degrees. Okay, that might work for some corn snakes and stuff, but king snakes, you don't give them a chance for their metabolism to slow down. So they want to eat. And then when you try to pair them, they're eating each other because they didn't have that moment to cool down. So we would move we'd shut the temps off for the colubrids on the racks and everything, get them down to that 72 to 75. And if it's something that really needed that drop, we would move them down onto the first floor, and they would go either actually under the stairwell going up to the second floor, or they'd go in one of the education rooms that wasn't being used for anything. During the winter months, things slow down when it comes to educational programs and stuff. So those rooms were really not as heavily in use. So we could kind of get away with that. And you kind of manipulate it from there. Emerald tree boas and green tree pythons and stuff like that don't need insane temps. We can just kind of run those ambient and just kind of let things naturally change as the seasons change. Being in New England, we're getting snow for a few months out of the year. We're getting those crazy storms. We're getting all that stuff. So, we kind of use that to our advantage up north. I'm from Massachusetts originally. I hate winter, but it was my favorite time of year with the reptiles, man, because hey, this natural fluctuation in temperature is going to ensure that my year is crushing, going into the next season. So I'm like, I might hate it, but it's springtime. It's going to be great.
Come on. I love Florida. Just where I'm at. I like staying right where I'm at. Too cold. Once it gets below 30 for me, I'm like,
man, listen, I love being in North Carolina, man. The winters, I like having all four seasons. I like being able to get a little cool in the winter, but like we're about to get a massive cold front and get down into the teens and 20s. And I'm like, nah, man, we need to do it. No.
Nobody likes you anyway. Just go.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Just keep it going, man.
But then when the sun comes and you're sweating out there, you're like, all right, I wish the cold was here. It's
man. I'm out there. I'm out there in my shorts and a tank top. Yep. I'm freaking baking in the sun, dude. I'm like, I will look like this lobster, man. My tan lines are strong, man.
I love the sun.
My tan lines are strong. Yeah, we're at 8, Chris. So I'm right there, 3 above you. It's cold here. Yeah, 8 degrees tonight.
Jeez, Chris,
y'all can keep.
I got the wood burner and the oil furnace on. I got both heat. I ain't getting cold.
Nah, I can't handle the cold, man. I lived in New England my entire life. After moving down south, I'm like, this is way better. I don't know why I waited so long.
That'd be a heck of
That's what I'm thinking. Why am I still in Pennsylvania?
Right. Yeah, the move down here was chaotic, to say the least.
Was it?
Yeah, I mean, I moved down here. I moved in with a buddy of mine who was also a reptile guy, because I was coming down with 250 ball pythons alone, not including the other species and stuff that I had. So, trying to find I wasn't set up to buy a house or anything like that, and trying to rent a home and be like, I've got 250 snakes that are going to come into this house.
I would be saying shit.
Yeah, man. Well, it's all well and good until you're bringing in this 6 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot giant black. What the hell is? What's that? It's my fish tank. Don't worry about it. That's when it gets a little tricky. But so I moved in with a buddy of mine who is also a reptile guy. So that just made everything, really smooth. But man, it was getting the move to happen was a challenge. You don't realize exactly how many animals you have until you got to pack them all up and prep them for that move. And I called my good friend Will Nace from West Palm Beach, Florida. Love Will to death. I helped him move. I flew down to Florida and helped him move into his place in West Palm Beach, and helping him with flighty ass king cobras and a whole bunch of other crazy venomous stuff down there. And he was like, man, if you ever need help, if you're ever moving or whatever, call me. I got you. And people say that because they're being nice, whatever. Right. So when I was like, I'm going to make this move, he was the first person I called. I was like, hey, man, I need to call in these chips, bro. Like, I was like, I need you to drive this U-Haul, man. I got to drive these snakes, And so he came up with his apprentice at the time. They flew up and they drove the U-Haul. They helped me load up the truck. I put all the snakes in my car. I couldn't see out of any window or mirror in my car at all. It was packed from seat to ceiling with snakes. It was pretty ridiculous. And we made the 16-hour drive down to North Carolina. We got to North Carolina at like 2 a.m. and then you got to offload everything, right? It's living creatures. So you can't just be like, oh, well, see you tomorrow. So we had to unload the rack. Yeah, we had to unload the racks and get a bunch of stuff set up and plugged up, and get those animals, especially the pythons and stuff, onto heat. The colubrids were the one thing that I was like, I'll get to you guys tomorrow. Like, you guys can handle that. The pythons and stuff that have been kind of chilly in the car, not so much. So that was chaotic. And then we got to getting everything plugged up and then realizing we needed more power in the basement to handle all of the racks. So I had half of my room plugged in. The other half was being heated by a space heater, ambient temp and all of that stuff. And luckily the way I had it set up was it was the colubrids and the carpets that were getting the ambient temperature. And I was like, that's perfect because they can tolerate the cooler temps way easier than the ball pythons and the short tails and the retics and all that stuff. So we finally got the electrician out, got all that stuff handled and taken care of, and we plugged everything up, and it was great. And then I recently moved at the end of last year, moved my collection to a new facility to be able to expand and do all that wonderful stuff. And that was a little easier. It was only 50 minutes down the road. That was great. But yeah. But it was still a challenge. And I will tell you this, if you've got to move and you've got rack systems, especially if you have things like ARS or Freedom Breeders, like the big, huge, stainless steel units, spend the extra money and get yourself a truck with a lift gate. It will save you so much time and energy. Yes, it is double the cost of what a U-Haul would be, but to be able to just wheel your rack out, put it on a lift gate, and go up and put it on the truck is so much easier than trying to get 5 guys to lift that thing onto the back of the U-Haul. It's a nightmare to do it that way because that's how we did it leaving New Hampshire. And I was like, I can't do that again. I won't do that again. No way in hell. I don't care that it's only $200 to do it. It's not worth breaking my back. Right. It was like, $600 for the truck with the lift gate, and we were done in a fraction of the time and on the road. And I was like, yes, this is so much better, dude. So
yeah, because you're just wheeling
it can't hurt at all.
Man, dude, you're done, man. And I'm huge on especially like I've got like stacks of caging and stuff. They're all on bases with casters. I'm all about being able to move stuff because you never know, man. You have an issue happen with a rack. You need to get back to some heat tape or whatever, dude. If you're moving something that's not on wheels, man, it's a nightmare, dude. It's a nightmare. So just bite the bullet, get the casters, get it done. It makes life so much easier. Don't skimp on your casters either. Pay the $10 to $12 a wheel and get you some solid casters that are going to last you. Yeah, man. You know, like nothing frustrates me more. And this is 100% a dig at Freedom Breeder. Nothing makes me more upset than when the rubber on my wheels falls off.
Oh shit!
Because it's just cracked and all that stuff on a 2.5-year-old rack.
Okay, I haven't done it yet, so please don't let it happen.
And I'll also go on record and say it could just be because of the parameters of my room, be on concrete floors and all that stuff, a little extra wear and tear. But
still, for the
I'm
price,
paying $3,000 for a rack. You know, I want those wheels to last.
I was about to say that's beside. I mean, for the price that we spend on these things, it ain't cheap, and that's not alone the cost of shipping to get it to us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, coming from West Coast. Yeah, sheesh. But yeah, go just get the casters, man. Go all in, get the casters, and you know, again, I grew up old school, so everything that I originally had was melamine. And when you've got, you know, these 300-pound racks that you've got to shimmy on the floor because you got to get to the back of it, it's a nightmare, dude. You know, so like that's I'm like, no, casters. Just get the casters, suck it up, cry about it later. Because when you have to move again, just to get to the back of your rack,
you're not scratching your linoleum or your hardwood or whatever the hell. Because that's another thing. Exactly. I put nice linoleum and you go slide a rack and you're like, son of a bitch, you know. Yep. And ain't nothing you can do to fix it. Ain't nothing you can do. Just gotta live with that slide mark across the floor.
It's your constant reminder that you're an idiot. And
trust me, I came close. I literally want to build one big frame to set all of them on. And that way I can just grab them all and just roll them out. You know?
Yeah, man. It is
roll out.
It's a lifesaver to be able to have stuff. Dude, I have my leopard gecko racks on casters, man. Because it's just you never freaking know. You know, you never freaking know. So it's good for sure. Casters. That's if you take nothing else away from this podcast, get some freaking casters.
Casters.
Let's go.
Nothing about boa constrictor breeding. Nothing about any of that. I need wheels. Like
good ones. Don't go to Harbor Freight.
Yeah. I want to hear on the news that Lowe's and Home Depot now have a shortage on wheels.
Come on.
Casters are all of a sudden sold out. There is none.
Exactly. That's funny.
Oh, man, that hour went by fast. We got like 5 minutes left.
Oh man.
So we're gonna start gearing down here. We got a little bit to say before we go with the auction and stuff. So if you want to tell people where they could find you and if they have any questions, you know, to reach out to you and where they could do that at.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on literally every single platform, Facebook, Instagram, Morph Market, even though I barely use it because I don't like it. Brass Man Reptiles, everywhere. You can find me on TikTok too, but it's literally just reposts of everything that I post on Instagram and Facebook. And YouTube, I've gotten back into the YouTube game, also at Brass Man Reptiles. I post a short once a week and a long form video once a week. It's every Wednesday and Friday. You can check out new uploads. And yeah, that's it, man.
Come on.
I'm getting ready to post your link in the chat so everyone can click on it. There Perfect. You go. There's his IG link in the chat. You can follow him.
Appreciate that.
Go follow him.
Heck yeah, y'all better go follow him. This guy's got killer stuff. I'm sure you'll be producing badass stuff throughout the year too, and all different types of species and stuff. That's what I like, is you got like big diversity over there compared to a lot of people. You got diversity, you know, which is smart.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, that's for me. That's the thing that's made the most sense in the market, right? And I know we're rolling down on time here, but that's why I made the joke of like, don't get stuck in the ball pythons, man. Like there's so much cool stuff out there, and even if you just have, one corn snake or a pair of king snakes or one carpet python or whatever, just diversify yourself a little bit. You never know, you might actually fall in love with another species and be like, oh man, actually this is more fun, number one. But number two, if you are trying to move in the business direction, I love ball pythons. They've played a huge part in my collection for a very long time. I've produced I don't know how many world's firsts and blah blah blah, all that fun stuff, world of ball pythons, yada 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 yada, whatever. It's all cool until you sink a lot of money in a project that suddenly tanks, because the fact of the matter is, if you're buying something from somebody like a Justin Kabelka, who I love Justin to death, he's such a great guy. But if you're buying a high-end animal from him, you have to ask yourself, what's he keeping in his holdback rack if he's letting this animal go?
He's 10 steps ahead of you. He's 10 steps ahead of you.
I will never forget going to his place years ago. Right. I will never forget going to his place years ago. And he was like, look at whatever you want. Nothing's off limits, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just checking stuff out. And I got to a part in a rack and I saw this group of 100% quad hets. 100% quintuple hets. Woo! So 100% het for 5 recessive mutations. And this was years ago. Like those animals.
Imagine now, guys.
So, and that was years ago. So, wow. Enjoy. I love ball pythons. I still have my projects I work with. Have fun. I made some cool ultra glow stuff last year, and I'm like, I'm going to hold these back because I think they're really cool. I produced some 100% quad het True Ghost, Desert Ghost clown stuff that I'm raising up, and I'm just going to enjoy these because I think it's a fun project. There's so many other cool snakes out there, and in business and things like investments and all this stuff, diversifying your portfolio is the way to go. And as we just made that list of 10 great snakes for kids, if you don't have those snakes, you're not selling those snakes. If you've only got one of those species on a list of 10, you're selling yourself short.
Yep.
So have your fun, do whatever you want to do, but also start to understand business. There's a lot of great people out here that are great reptile folks, terrible business people. And it's no shade. It's no shade to anybody, but like this business doesn't scale the way other businesses do. Like you've got the racks you've got behind you, let's say one column, let's say that one column of those tubs produces you $5,000 in profit 1 year. And you add another rack on there. That doesn't mean you're now going to make $10,000 profit.
It does not. That does not at all.
But your expenses double right off the rip as soon as it's full. So
you're producing your own rats.
Exactly, because that stuff adds up, man. That stuff adds up. So I think that having that diversification is really key. Unless my caveat to that is unless you're working with such a specifically niche species that your competition really isn't in much existence. Something like the Amazon tree boas, like the emerald tree boas, like green tree pythons, where it's like there's a high dollar value and there's not much competition, but there's a lot of demand. So you can kind of mitigate a lot of those things. In comparison to ball pythons or corn snakes or various colubrids in any sort of mass. But that's my long spiel on that. I ate up way too much time talking about that.
I've said it. I've said it recently. I
could sit here and listen to this all night.
But no, I definitely said it recently. That's what I've done. I would want to do is get rid of a good quarter to 45% of my ball pythons, and I want a bunch more carpets. I'm loving the carpets. Yeah. The fact I can come in my reptile building and look during the day and look in the enclosures and they're out. They're hanging out in the branches.
Absolutely,
they're like ball python that's in the drawer is hidden. Even if I had an enclosure for it, it wants to go in a cave.
It's still hidden. Yeah. Exactly, man. It is cool. And I think fundamentally, and I've said this a lot, and again, I love ball pythons, but for reference, when I moved to North Carolina just 4 years ago, I had 250 ball pythons. My breeding stock is now, not including the babies I produced this past year, but my breeding stock this year is 12 animals.
Damn.
I went from 250 to 12. And same for carpets. When I moved out here, I had 40 carpet pythons. I have 12. So I downsized a lot because now the Amazon tree boas are my thing, and focusing on.
He's the one, Jeremy, I was telling you about, Jeremy, that wants me to keep him outside here is Kyle.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. You got to talk to, do you know Yoshi from the Modern Reptile podcast?
No.
I'll have to connect you guys because he keeps his, he's in Florida. He keeps his brettles outside, and he's bred them outside down there in Florida.
I can see because that temperature change is going to kick it for them, you know, especially when we drop, you know, and being outside, and it's not even going to affect them really. You ain't got to do too much for them, you know, like that's a given. That's a given.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's definitely one of those things where, you know, when it comes to ball pythons, I pick on them a lot now because I don't really have any skin in the game. I work with what I want to, what I like, and that's it. And I don't have to worry about, you know, undercutting the next guy to make a sale, or I don't have to do any of that stuff. You know, so I just root for my friends now. And, you know, if they've got something that I want, then I'll go and grab it. And if I produce something they think is cool, they come get it from me. But there's no push. I don't have to go and invest $1,000 every year to try to get onto the next project wave or whatever. When you're able to take that step back, especially being somebody who was really heavily invested in ball pythons, I've got no skin in the game. I'll talk all the crap I want. You know,
come on.
It's kind of ridiculous, y'all. It's kind of ridiculous, you know. And you know, let's also not get it twisted. Again, I'm old school. I remember when a single gene male coral glow was $65,000. So, you know, and now they're $50. You know.
Yep.
We've
that
seen
shows you guys how the market can change. Even the people listening to that right now, that shows you right now that you could have a sunset sitting in there. You could have freaking, you know, anything expensive. And literally 3 years from now, that thing could be worth $60.
Yeah.
So you gotta take all that in.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I remember investing really heavy in the Phantom ball python gene years ago. Like I spent, I think it was like $6,000 on a super Phantom. And, you know, which $6,000, it's already kind of on its descension, but you know, you figure you're putting up that kind of money. There's still a little bit of value left in that game. The following year, a single gene Phantom was $200.
See,
and I was like, "Oh,
wow!"
You know, so I've definitely had
I lost my ass in that one.
To me. Yeah, I've definitely had my ass handed to me. You know, but at the same time, I remember selling ivory ball pythons at $3,000 a piece. You know, when there was still some value in ivories. So, you know, it's one of those things that you need to pay attention to. And again, not to discourage anyone from going down the ball python lane, but we've bastardized that species when it comes to the business of reptiles. You know, this is a challenging business. We're in the sale of live animals, right? So you constantly have expenses, from heating them to feeding them to your time and all of that stuff. When you break it down and try to take it and make it make sense, suddenly you're looking at your profit margins and you're like, holy crap, I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Suddenly you've got all this expenditure happening and you're hemorrhaging money, you know, really, really quickly if you're not taking care of yourself, breeding your own rats. And even that's a challenge when rat food's going up, you know, 3% every quarter. And you're like, you know, what the heck, dude? You know, those things play a huge part in it too, you know, and rodent prices aren't going down.
Nope.
You know, so it's, you know, that's honestly, that was another factor in me doing the Amazon tree boa thing. Like, yeah, big females can take a small rat if you want them to, you know, but the vast majority, I can feed large adult mice or XL mice. And that's a fraction of what a small rat is.
That is right.
You know, in some cases it's half the price. And the Amazons, that's another snake that like you don't need to feed every week. They're an arboreal tree. They're a tree snake. They want to sit in their own little space and wait for whatever prey item to come by when it does, and that's it. So if I miss a week, hell, if I miss 2 weeks of feeding, that snake doesn't care, you know. But by golly, my ball python, I gotta feed that thing because I gotta be able to breed it, man. And here's an interesting thing, because now I'm on a tangent. Sorry, we're going over the hour. You got me going now.
Bonus footage. We call bonus footage.
Ball pythons are the only species of snake in this industry that I know where we have reduced the breeding age requirement, but we've increased the weight requirement for when your females are ready to breed. So for reference.
Okay, that to me though, that is what I've always argued this, and that's what I call gatekeeping, is what I feel like a lot of that has to do with. A lot of these older breeders, I felt like wanted to up the weight on it because now it takes longer for us newer guys to come in. And when they're told 1,500 grams, but I'm seeing guys that are over here doing 900 grams, and the snake looks great, and there ain't nothing wrong with it, and it's laying 5 to 6 eggs. And I'm like, okay. And then I see somebody over here at 1,500 grams pairing, and they're hitting 5 or 6 eggs, and they're having more problems than the guy over here at 900 grams. So I don't know. To me, that's and the way I look at it is, in the wild, is God putting a rock down in front of that snake and stopping that snake from pairing? Hell no, that's not happening. You know, like.
No, exactly. And you know, like I've had 1,000-gram females produce follicles and breed and give me clutches of 4 or 5 eggs. You know, so because to the point, in the wild, there's no, if that animal cycles, it cycles, and if it gets the chance to breed, it's going to breed. It is what it is.
I read my snake is what I do. I read my snake. I ultrasound. I look at the health of my snake.
Ready?
Is this good? Let's do it. You know.
Exactly. But so it's bizarre to me, you know, back in the day was your females need to be 2.5 to 3 years, and they need to be 1,200 grams. That was the original, what was talked about. And, you know, at 2.5 years, you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I can get that snake to that size in 2.5 years, whatever. Now, all of a sudden, it's 18 months and 1,500 grams. How are we doing that now? That makes no sense. And we're literally talking about people who are like, well, I'll feed that thing every other day and get a meal into it because it can handle it. And I'm like, okay.
Now you're power feeding. Now
we're power feeding, but also now we're going to bring the terrible word. We're going to bring ethics into this.
Yep.
Is it really that important for you to breed that snake at 900 grams, at 1,000 grams? If it takes you an extra
in this market,
to get it to a more adequate size to where, you know, that animal can have a solid clutch, be fine, you know, whatever. Because you do run risks breeding smaller females. You run risks of egg binding and whatever. Like the percentages of those issues does go up. Can't deny that. So, but now we're decreasing age and increasing weight. That means we're throwing food at these things like it's nobody's business, man. And that's, you know, now we're like, okay, well, once again, going back to the example of, you know, if we're buying a crazy high-end ball python, what's that breeder got in their racks that, you know, somebody like Justin that has a rodent facility out on their property, they have a huge rodent room. So they've got unlimited food that they can be feeding their stuff, you know, but the guy that's got to go buy their rodents, whether it's, you know, at the local pet shop or they've got a rodent supplier and they're paying $2-3 a rat. You know, I can't feed my snake every 2 days. You know, so now I'm already behind. You know, and
there's some that I've seen firsthand because I sell rats. So I've actually seen a couple people that come get rodents off me, and they'll buy high dollar ones and they'll power feed those high dollar ones and come to me. Instead of every week coming and getting the 10, the 12 that they need, they'll just get 2 for those high dollar because they want to power feed those ones. I'm like, I've said something to them multiple times. I'm like, kind of, bro, like you know, I wouldn't be doing that. That's not how I would run things, man. They're like, yeah, I know. I just, you know, I'm like, well, you're being antsy. They can kick you in the ass. I'm just letting you know.
It's true, man. You know,
I mean, I fed once a week to my females, and I could get a female up to size in a year. in 12 months, I could take a 200-gram snake and get it up to size in a year, feeding it once a week. I mean, it's pretty
totally,
easy if that snake a week.
Possible. Yeah,
right.
It's totally possible. It's when we've publicized so much of, $20,000 snake, $30,000 snake, you have to think about who's viewing that content, right? Of course, the people who love snakes, we're like, oh man, what they produce, that's really cool. To the average Joe that's just scrolling through YouTube and the algorithm decides, hey, see if you like this. They see $20,000 next to a picture of a snake. They're going to click on that and be like, what do you mean? I can go spend $3,000 and make a $20,000 snake. Well, how hard is it to take care of a snake? Quick little Google search, ball pythons, easy to take care of, great beginner, blah, 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 whatever. A lot of people breed them.
But they got some rude awakenings to learn on that one.
No, exactly. And it's just like, whoa, man, like, wait, what are we doing, man? And then you get your ass handed to you, and you're, because maybe you buy a couple of snakes and then you get bit by the bug, because it happens to all of us, and you start buying and buying and buying and buying. Then bam, you get hit with mites. And now you've got to figure out how to deal with mites. Or then bam, you get hit with nidovirus. And then your whole collection's gone.
Gone.
Gone. You didn't get anything but a bankruptcy. It's people don't think about that. And unfortunately, because we have bastardized breeding ball pythons into this Ponzi scheme of just make money, it really becomes a twisted reality where it's like, yes, you can absolutely make money breeding snakes. You absolutely can. I believe that wholeheartedly. And it doesn't matter what species you breed. That's the important thing to note. I can make the same amount of money if I bred short-tail pythons, if I bred Amazon tree boas, if I bred corn snakes, if I bred king snakes, if I did any of that. The number of which I'm making per snake might be vastly different, and the number of snakes I need to produce might be vastly different.
But you can still bring in the same amount.
But I can still bring in the same amount of money. And looking at overall expenditures, again, if we look at colubrids, the majority of North American colubrids, we're eating mice. You can get mice. Pinky mouse at ARS is 20 cents.
Yep.
And for something like a corn snake, you put 5-6 meals into it, and it's pretty much, good to go. It's solid at that point. So now we're talking you put $3 worth of food into that snake. You figure, okay, I put $5 in because now I'm going to think about the time of cleaning, going through my row. Okay, it's a couple cents per tub if I want to break it down that way. And electricity, okay, it's cost me a fraction of a cent. And you kind of go down that line. But if I look at like a scaleless corn snake, that I sell a scaleless corn snake for $350, and I've only put $5 of effort into that snake, that's an incredible margin.
Yep.
So it's one of those things where that value also has already kind of plateaued. Scaleless corn snakes are pretty much sitting around $300 and have for the last few years. That's not really going to change very much. Ball pythons, every year it seems like a pastel ball python, it loses a couple dollars in value. And depending on what
me and Kyle were talking about with the carpets, it's like if you actually look at the carpets and the pricing, they kind of hold their value. Even some of the lower end ones kind of hold their over time. And if they've dropped, it's not enough to bitch or complain about compared to, like you just said, with ball pythons. You can see that big fluctuate drop, and then you could have, have a big talked about gene one year, and there's just so many ball python breeders. It's a big, say for instance, paint, everybody's want paint. Well, in 2 years from now, when everybody done got paint or het paints, that paint ain't going to be when you're producing 60 million other people are producing paints, that price is going to drop,
and that's where having the forethought. And I see this question here. I'll talk about that in just a second. Having the forethought about some of those recessive projects like paint, like sunset, like whatever. This is where we've messed up in some cases. We think about, okay, well, I got to make that paint, or I've got to make that axanthic clown. I got to make that DG clown. Cool. Make that. What are you going to plug into it? An NC double het DG clown?
What are you going to do after? Think long term, you know?
You sold off all your 5, 6, 7, 8 gene codom females because you're like, oh, these don't have any hets. They're worthless. They don't have any value anymore. You take an axanthic clown and breed that to a 7 or 8 gene female to make all those cool double het combos. If you make a 5 or 6 gene banger that's now double het, you could be way ahead of the game simply because you plug it into something like that, you know. And sometimes because some things just
if you got to put it in another recessive.
Exactly. And sometimes if you know things just go under the radar, like you know, when you start looking at stuff like het hypo and you know, het cryptic and stuff, some of these things exist and they're not even talked about anymore. You know, like case in point, I got from Matt Garbrandt over at O'Malley's Morphs, even though he's not doing it much anymore. But before he did the blood python stuff, he was hard in ball pythons. And I remember him hitting me up and being like, man, I produced this crazy clutch and I don't know what the hell any of these things are. And I was like, well, you've got some red stripe going on in here from your Enchi and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I helped him ID them. And there was this one animal that I was like, dude, you know, if you decide to sell that, I want that animal. Like, that's just a really cool looking snake. And yeah, I love Matt so much, man. And I'm going to have to text him because I haven't talked to him in a while. He just sent me the snake as a thank you. He's like, don't send me any money. Just thank you for taking the time to help me. And I'm like, dude, you really don't have to do that, man. You know, like that snake's got some value, you know. No, man. Thank you. This is my gift to you. Cool, man. I appreciate that. I raised that snake up. It was a Powerball pastel Enchi red stripe. So there's a cool snake. You know, I bred it to an axanthic clown last year, and it turns out she's het cryptic. I had cryptons all over in that clutch.
Let's go.
And I was like, oh man, you know, like that's, you know, and I reached out to him and I was like, dude, that thing's het cryptic, man. Like that's crazy. And he's like, I had no freaking idea that was even a thing floating around in my, you know, it's like, I didn't get it sold as a het cryptic. I bought snakes from people that were het hypo that they're like, oh, I didn't even know hypo was even in that, you know. So you have opportunities to get ahead, you know, like this year, one of my ball python pairings now is banana, blackhead, black pastel, leopard hypo male breeding to a Mojave, Enchi, yellow belly, calico. I'm forgetting one other gene, 100% het hypo that I produced from a male that was the offspring of another male that was het hypo that I didn't know was het hypo. So so now we're talking about what great granddaughter of an animal that was het hypo that I didn't even know was het hypo. You know, like that's cool as hell to me, you know, but because that kind of stuff exists, like you just don't know what you're getting, you know? So you can't undersell yourself, you know. Going back to the question about visiting the Reptarium, the Reptarium is a wonderful place, man. Let me not get emotional because we just passed the 2-year mark of Brian's passing, and that was really hard situation for me. I met Brian when I was 14 or 15 years old. I was young, and I met him at a show in New York City, and crazy busy show, and I was so stoked to meet him. He took 2 hours at that show and just talked to me. 2 hours. Wow. Brought me behind his table. You know, he asked me what I kept, and I listed off. You know, back then I probably had like 150 snakes in my parents' house, like 25 different species. And you know, he was like, "Wait, what the hell?" So I talked to him for hours. That was 2009, and 2011. So this is still snake bites days, right? So this is pre-Reptarium. So this is still Brian Bartek, the snake breeder, right? Fast forward 2011, I graduate high school, and my mom comes over to me and she's like, so, you know, we didn't get you a gift for graduating, but I've got you something better. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she had reached out to Brian and Lori and basically got me a week to spend with Brian and Lori at BHB
Let's go.
We drove out there. I got to work with him for a week and hang out. And we went out 4th of July weekend. So I got to hang out with Brian and Lori and the family, and was at their 4th of July event. And we blew up some dynamite at his father-in-law's house. It was a great time. Freaking wonderful. I had plenty of. We went to see Transformers 3D in theaters. Like it was a great time. Brian was a really, really great friend of mine, and I remember talking to him about him wanting to do the zoo, and he's like, we got to downsize and do all this stuff. And I remember when he went through the whole bastard child of the internet phase where everybody hated him and all this stuff, and them came back into grace doing the Reptarium, and I watched the shift in him. But we used to always joke, because I would ask him, we might not talk for 2 or 3 months, and I'd ask him, what are you doing, man? How are things? What's new? And my joke was like, I never had to say anything else on the phone call, because he always had 1,000 things happening. He would just be listing all of them off, man.
Let them out.
I remember he was talking about he wanted to do an NFT thing for the reptile zoo and all this stuff. And I was like, wait, what the hell? Like, what are you talking about?
Smart.
Yeah, it was very smart. It was very smart. But I was there the day that he found out that the building that's now Legacy was available. I was visiting him, and somebody said, hey, did you see the moving sign? It was a thrift shop or something originally. And they was like, hey, did you see the We're Moving sign? And he like ran to the door, and he's like looking at the sign. He's like, oh man, I got to go over there. And I was trying to film something with him, and he was about to run out the door. I was like, wait, I need you for 30 seconds. Let's film this thing really quick, and then you can go do whatever the hell you got to do, man. Like, I just need you for 30 seconds. So we filmed a little outro, and he ran, and I think it was either Jay Tomsky or Jay Tingle. It was one of the Jays, and I was like, he's going to have that building in 6 months or less, guaranteed. And I think it was like 3 months later, I was on the phone with him, and he's like, yeah, I mean, we just signed the deal on the building, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, holy crap. I went up a while later after they did the demo, and I remember walking through the building when it was just nothing but destroyed construction zone, and then I remember going again. The last time I went the beginning of December, right before he passed, and I had produced. I produced some Amazon tree boas, some red calico Amazon tree boas. I posted a picture online, and he was the first person that messaged me and was like, if you have a female, I need one because I need something to pair to Lucky. And I was like, I said, cool, I got you, man. Don't worry about it. I said, I haven't sexed him yet, but if I got a female, I'm putting your name on it. We'll figure it out. And now, mind you, this is only 2.5 years ago. So I'm freaking out because I'm like, this is the guy that's got everything. He can get whatever he wants, and he's reaching out to me because he wants one of my snakes. I've known him forever.
What?
Right. I've known him forever. So I was like, oh man, okay, I hope there's a girl in this litter. There was one female.
Oh shit.
Litter. And I remember sending him a message with a picture, and I was like, she's got your name on it. And he's like, oh man, I'm so excited. And then that's when we knew that we kind of knew the writing on the wall of what was going to happen. And I reached out to Jay Tomsky, and I was like, hey man, I said, I need to come bring this snake to Brian. I don't know what his schedule's like. I know that he's all over the place with everything that's going on. You're probably the next best person to know his schedule besides Lori, but let's figure out a time. I'm going to drive up. It's like 10 hours or whatever. I'm just going to drive up and bring him the snake. I want to see my friend, and so I made that drive.
That's cool.
And that was probably one of the hardest visits for a couple of reasons. One, because when I saw him previously, it was at Animal Con, and he looked good. He was just bald, we were just like, oh, okay, no big deal. He's looking good. I didn't realize at the time, but I learned after with a conversation with a friend of mine, he knew that it wasn't good at that point, but none of us knew. You know, we were still, of course, holding out hope at that point. So fast forward just 4 months and seeing him, and he was a very different looking person. And that was really, really hard. And I was happy to see him. But I also remember on my way home, like pulling over and breaking down because I'm like, this might have been the last time.
Damn.
And it was.
Wow.
So the Reptarium is a really, really special place for me.
100.
Just because I witnessed my friend go through so much growth and transition and become, you know, he's always been a beacon of inspiration for a lot of us, but to go through that kind of transition, you know, was awesome to see, you know, and through all of the iterations, he was always very truly him, you know. Hell, I remember it was fairly early on after his diagnosis. My grandmother had passed away, and he like reached out to me and was like, "Man, I'm so sorry to hear about your grandmother." And I was like, "You have so many other things going on, dude, right now. Like, why the hell is a text to me important? You know, you know, like it just kind of it."
So what kind of heart he had on him? He had a good heart on him.
Exactly. You know, and so saying all that to say, I have yet to go out to Legacy. I wanted to go for the grand opening, but only a few days prior, I had to play at a wedding for a friend of mine up in Connecticut, and then was coming back and then had to go right back out on the road after that. So it didn't work out that way. So it's very high up on my list. I would like it to be just a tad warmer in Michigan before I decide to go and visit. But it's definitely up there on my list, for sure. And I told my partner, I was like, you know, I want you to come with me. I was very happy that he got to meet Brian at Animal Con and get just a glimpse, a sliver of getting to know who Brian was. But I told him, I said, when we go, you know, I'm going to film, I'm going to do all that stuff, whatever. I said, I'm going to cry like a little bitch, just so you know, like just simply because like the last time I saw it, it was still a construction zone. They were still getting the concrete put up on things, you know, now it's done. It's, you know, and I'm like, oh man, you know, this is going to be so wild to see. And I have some friends that went and they're like, dude, you're not going to believe it. Like it's so insane. It's so wild. And I'm like, I can only imagine, because it seemed wild to me when it was just an empty room, a giant empty room, you know, so I can only imagine it now. So yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for sharing that. That
yeah,
was touching. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, you guys got me emotional, damn it.
Bring out the good in you, you know?
Wasn't the plan.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. No, man, I miss him every day, man. It's crazy. Michigan had a heat wave today. It was fun. You can keep that shit. Holy cow, man.
That is crazy.
Right.
That is good.
Hard pass. Man.
No, he's a legend.
Well, we kept it going a half hour longer than normal.
Yeah, sorry for going on and rambling on.
Whatever.
But yeah, that's the one thing I want to say.
I let you go.
It's good to keep that name going around in this industry, because that's a name that should never die. You know, that's a name that should never go in the past or anything like that. Should always be a name that's always brought up in this industry for sure. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. I'm
for sure.
I give a lot of props to Lori and the crew for continuing to push that and showcase what's going on up there and kind of keeping all those things alive and moving forward. And like I'm excited to go and see it all. Now that it's up and running, it's gonna be It's incredible.
It's gonna be badass. It's gonna be badass. Like I already see on Instagram all the tanks and stuff. So you're like, what?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's nuts.
And he just added a bunch of fish that are sick too. The one guy over there, I was watching Lori doing the chat with them, and he was putting the fish in the tank. I was like, man, that's badass. That's badass. You know, naming all of them. So
yeah, it's wild.
Yeah,
I can't wait for sure because I'm definitely gonna me and Alex are gonna make that trip one of these days. One of these days.
You have to. Absolutely have to.
You
You got to time
get
it.
a hold of me. We'll make it an RWO trip.
There you
Come
go. You've got to plan it so you go up to Tinley because Tinley's only 4 hours away, man. So you do a quick little run through, man.
Tinley's cold though. That time of year, it's cold. You know, it's a little cold. I like it.
Hey man, it was like 65 degrees this past October, Tinley, man. It actually wasn't too bad.
That's not bad. That's not bad. That's doable. You know, that's doable.
We can deal with that. Definitely deal with that.
Yeah. It's definitely been worse at Tinley for sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh man.
Cool. Well, if we go up as a group, we'll let everyone know, and as many people could come there. You know, come with us. Let's go.
Let's do
Get
it.
100 of us there.
There you go.
Let's rate it.
It was a good show.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it
Great
was.
show. That guy, we definitely hit over the mark. We're at an hour and 32 minutes. Ken's over here lagging some, so he gets a little behind on hearing us. So he's trying. He's fixing it. He looks good though. Look at him. Look,
I got a new Ethernet cord and I got a new modem. So now I'm going to go change my ends that you talked about, and hopefully that solves every issue. But it's better than it has been. So we're getting there. It's weird because like this started like when the cold weather started. It just slowly got worse to where it was just like I can't even run this podcast. Like what's going on? So like calling Xfinity, like getting in arguments on the phone with them like every other week just got to be tiresome. And we finally got leeway. So I'll get there. Don't have it overnight. Podcasting woes. It's not easy.
Right. Very
right.
true.
That is very true. Well, that guys, I think everybody in the chat. Yep.
Good. I just wanted to mention about the auction on the 29th.
But thanks everybody in chat for coming out. Couldn't have a great Jeremy. It was great meeting you, man. It was nice hearing about your collection, the diversity. I mean, even down to you've been in this since you were a kid, man. So you've seen all the ups, the downs, which is pretty amazing. And you can really speak the facts to these guys about the money, you know, ball python industry, about if you're doing this, you need diversity, which is to me, a very big thing. I try to preach to a lot of people. You got to have diversity. So at that, guys, I appreciate everybody for coming out. We're going to wrap it up. I'm making it easier for Ken because I know Ken, you want to say something? Come on. I'm going to give you 4 seconds. All right.
January 29th, we're throwing an auction for both. So if you would like to make a donation, hit one of us up. The QR code's up in the corner, but of course you can't scan that little thing. If you would like to make a donation to him, there's the QR code. Scan it. It's been running across the bottom, his Cash App. Help the guy out. He went through, a terrible situation, lost 2 family members. Big part of this community, and we're just honored to be in a place to where we can help him out. So do what we can. Every little bit counts.
Big facts.
Take it away, Justin.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great night. We're out of here. Later. You got that?